Lee, you feel like watching a British post-apocalyptic dragon movie?
All right, all right, all right. Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale star in an explosive, action-packed adventure with bone-charring special effects that will have you glued to your seat. When a London tunneling project uncovers an unearthly fire-breathing beast from centuries of slumber, all hell breaks loose. 12-year-old Quinn, Christian Bale, sees his mother, one of the workers, die trying to escape this new terror. 20 years later, as a fire chief, he tries to keep a group of refugees alive with fierce dragons dominating the air, burning the land, and feeding on the ash. Unexpectedly, Van Zandt, McConaughey, a hotshot American militia leader, shows up with a ragtag group of slayers on a perilous crusade to hunt down and destroy the beast. Tempers flare when there is a struggle for leadership until both men realize only one species is getting out of this alive. 2002 Reign of Fire.
All right, guys, here we're going to talk about the movie Reign of Fire. 2002's Reign of Fire, Lee. I'm pretty sure you've seen this one before.
I love this movie. This was on my you should rent these employee pick shelf. It's still the same movie, but
it's a fun movie.
I've changed, perhaps.
There's great concepts in this
Yes.
movie, and I like some of the things it represents. I think it does not stand up to the look at it too closely, which we're gonna do in spoilers.
Yeah, I was afraid of this one because I know you care about movies making sense or something, and I don't. This movie contains a sequence that I consider to be the best sequence in all of cinema, and we will look.
We're certainly going to dig into that. Yeah.
In spoilers, but yeah, effects-wise and just overall as a film and the flow and the pacing and all that stuff, I'm kind of I used to watch movies and only remembered a few cool parts, and that's what got me through the last 20 years of my life. And now that I'm watching movies oh, is this a good movie? I'm kind of I don't know. But
I'll say the effects hold up for me in the movie. I think it's the script that kind of falls off. But I definitely enjoyed it. I saw this theatrically when it first came out. I thought it was really good. It was fun. Same deal where I've recommended this. I've thought fondly upon this movie. But yeah, let's see what we really think about it.
People should obviously see it if you've not seen it.
Oh, for sure. Anything with this all-star lineup here.
To not spoil it, it's what if we did a zombie post-apocalypse movie, but the zombies could fly and breathe fire? Basically, it's a dragon movie. Right, sort of in that vein. I dig it a lot.
Post-apocalyptic dragon movie with Matthew McConaughey. You've got Christian Bale. Need I say more? Exactly. And I will in the spoiler section. So if you've seen this or don't care, follow the spoilers. And if not, pull out now.
If you need a place to rent content, you better listen. We're Cannibal Video and we eat the competition.
All right, guys. So here we are for the spoilers of Reign of Fire. Lee, let me hear your spoiler-filled thoughts.
It's a cool movie. It's a good movie.
I'll say it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
I won't say that it's a good movie.
No, so you mentioned the writing too, and I think that's also I had certain the movie ends it runs out of something.
It just gives
falls
up.
apart.
Well, because based on what you're establishing, and we're jumping to the end here, in the ending, in that we kill him with an exploding crossbow bolt. That is a C4. What is zinc oxide magnesium
phosphorus.
And I'm like, okay. What? No, what's triggering a C4? That's not how C4 works. But if we can ignore that, we can say that a tiny projectile that can be fired from a crossbow bolt can kill a dragon if you shoot him in the face. We have lots of large guns.
It was a combination of the knowledge and whatever. I don't mind that as a plot point, but I think the movie's been escalating this whole time.
Yeah.
We've gotten more and more and more. And even if it ends up with just a few of them trapped somewhere trying to somehow make it happen, most movies that do this, it's we have the big beam going in the sky and the portal's opening and there's some reason, there's some goal. Here they were just I think he lives here, let's go check it out. And
or if we don't get him now, they're going to hibernate and we'll be blah, blah, or something bad is going to happen, some escalation point.
Or he's about to fertilize all the eggs.
Yeah.
So let's go. Yeah. Oh, all the eggs are going to be in that tunnel where your mom died.
Mom.
let's go torch it, let's go do this. Oh, well, the mines have methane, it's going to do this chemical reaction. If we can detonate this, the whole species is done. And then Daddy's like, no, and trying to stop them, and then maybe they kill him anyway. But there's no movie arc pot, right? Yeah.
I just wasn't a fan from the little bits that fall apart there. Just from it's like, how did this apocalypse ever get going? Honestly, because
there's a montage. Well, you don't know,
but there really wasn't.
He walks you through the
steps. No. They say these things, but but think about it logically. When a zombie apocalypse movie happens, you're like, okay, this either happened because it spread through people not knowing that this how it spread, and then by that time hospitals and all across the world are all infected, or it's when you die, this and that. It's easy to spread something, but when something is a gigantic flying beast that all the world could easily rally against and shoot, and how many were in that cave? Presumably, let's say a handful. It spread so fast to take over the whole world seems so crazy.
He admits that we don't know. All of a sudden there were millions of them. And you're like, all right. That to me is just wallpaper. That's just how did we get to here, right?
It's just and it would have been, I think, fine for me if the ending death was something a little bit more extravagant or whatever. Because yes, they say something through their words where it's you must get him right before he breathes fire. It's the only time he exposes his chest.
One shot's gonna kill him, and it's gonna be with this. He only exposes his chest before he breathes fire.
And then he shoots him in the mouth. Yes. So I'm like, well, what? Okay.
The chest is down there in the mouth.
Yeah, sure.
No. The whole third act, the whole we've gotten to this point or something. It almost feels like they ran out of money, which is weird because they had a decent budget.
$60 million.
60, and I'm like, that's estimated, and that's 2000 money or something. But that's still this is the fabled mid-tier cinema that.
Well, they did a great job on their effects here. So the fire looks great because it's fire. Sure. It's actually a flamethrower attached to a forklift. I'm like, that's cool.
In this particular shot, this is actually real fire. It was shot with a bulldozer that had nozzles and fire hoses, and it would spray it out and actually make this fire.
And then they composite all the shots over it, so you have the dragon lining up to get actual fire-breathing stuff.
This man watched a featurette or something.
I actually saw someone last year talking about this movie, and there are people that break down effects things, and they're like those aren't effects. This is actual whatever. I'm like, oh, cool.
There were cringy moments, particularly at the end. Matthew McConaughey is green screened weird against the background. He's with his axe and stuff.
That's just
Run like the wind, baby!
a dumb move in general.
That was burned into my mind as this movie's awesome. The end is what I had this little bit, and then watching this, I'm like, the end can't be as much of a letdown as I remembered. Everything's going so well.
I think that's because that was a trailer moment. You saw a dragon flying, you saw McConaughey jumping, and then it doesn't show you him die abruptly, really like a loser.
It makes sense that he would easily die, though.
Of course. But it also makes me wonder because we see him multiple times. At that point, it eats McConaughey, it eats one of the skydiver guys, and
Roger that.
I'm like, do they eat meat or ash? Is it just him killing things? Is he I just a lot of the little things like that, like the skydiving people. I'm like, oh, the archangels. That's cool. In my young teen head, but as an adult, I'm like, that's a crazy waste of resources when we don't have people to begin with. You throw 3 of them out, and they fire their nets.
That's away! Great shot!
I go, why don't we just fire nets out of the fucking thing?
Oh, I don't know the logistics. I like this stuff because it reminds me of Attack on Titan or whatever.
Yeah, it's goofy and fun, but when you think about how fractured our military is, and the fact that he has to grab just random Scottish people.
They create this really interesting world and like Attack on Titan, where it's we have this very weird threat that we don't quite understand, and we've devised this very convoluted way to fight them, but we're told this is the only thing that that works, and that type of stuff I always respond really positively to, because they do the triangulation with the radar.
That's
all
the
this
dumbest
crazy
shit.
stuff.
Well, yes, when you see it, you only see them actually do their whole maneuver stuff really once.
One demo.
And the one demo we see, they're not even a tight, we've got this kind of crew. I can't get my thing dropped. I need to do it on a horse to fix my shit. I'm like, okay, how did you survive this far? It makes me wonder. And how did they? explain their landing. I wasn't sure if it was a boat that crashed or a plane that was carrying all those supplies. They're like, we landed in blah, 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 and this and that. We lost half our gas and supplies or some shit like that.
Rebuilt the National Guard C-5A. Flew at 8,000 miles on 2 engines and tried to set it down on the old strip outside of Manchester.
It's a plane.
It's a plane.
Because he says like the C-280 or some weird thing.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was a plane or a boat. Because I'm like, it was carrying these vehicles and the.
But then he says like 2 engines or something like that. So I'm pretty sure it's a plane trip.
So,
no, because he says the scars are their territory. How'd you do that? You're a liar. All that stuff. Oh. So good.
Yeah, very, very, very weird. And I was like, are they the last of the American military? Was the American military sent here to do this thing? I like the world. I like what it posits here.
It's the irregulars. He's a militia-man.
Yeah.
He's taking it upon himself. Yeah. He's crazy, Stefan.
He's definitely crazy.
Okay, gonna have a window. 10, maybe 12 seconds every time he makes a turn, and we're gonna use it.
Did a good enough job of telling you that.
Well,
he's crazy.
I don't know that it did a good enough job of a lot of things, honestly.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I don't understand how the dragons are starving and this and that, but they haven't like scoured the entire earth and countryside for these like tomato farms and things like that.
It's very tiny.
I guess, but you'd think before you would cannibalize everything, you would kind of spread out. And
They're
I guess
animals. Yeah.
They are.
We're
But
not playing this out.
they're animals that could destroy our whole civilization, so I give them a little credit.
But just like organically, right? They're not plotting and like whatevering. I think he just like smells them to go back to the castle to like melt it down.
No,
and
that's
stuff. Oh my god.
That's a moment where you're like, this dragon is gigantic. The male hugs an entire castle, and then when you see him later, I'm like, I don't think he's that big any longer.
You get a sense of what his scale is supposed to be.
Yeah.
In that one shot where all the females scatter, and then like the big guy comes in. It's like Fantasia. It's like this giant thing. But yeah, when it's on the ground chasing them, you're kind of like, oh, it's a little pussycat. It's okay.
Based on how big it is, hugging and like it's 20 years of a thing that's potentially been around since the dinosaurs. So like it didn't grow. I'm like, that thing probably couldn't even have got out of the elevator shaft.
Yeah, we don't know how big that big hole is, but yes, I understand.
But you know what I mean? When I'm watching, I'm like, there's something here.
The scale is inconsistent.
Because I could just see someone going, well, it's 20 years later. And I'm like, they said this thing's been hibernating since. I like that rehistory. I like the idea of like, no, they killed the dinosaurs and their ash blocked out the air and caused the ice age. I'm like, that's cool.
Species which had burned the dinosaurs to dust, whose ash had brought on ice ages.
It's not an asteroid.
No, that's very cool.
It was these things that inhabited the Earth the whole time that we never knew about. Oh, I love it so much.
I don't get how the knights would have ever fought these things in the first place, though. Because I guess maybe just a couple, woke up here and there, and like they were some females couldn't breed, and like they could have even just died out over whatever. I wonder what their life cycle is, their span. I always want more, but it's always for information I could never get because it was like, well, no one in the world could know these things because it's new knowledge.
People in the story would not have even have known. But yeah, like if it is a like starvation death cycle and all the females are useless once then it becomes like, oh yeah, I guess there were just strays hanging out, maybe like the big ones couldn't survive, so small, and then that's what you could write a whole crazy alternate dragon history if you want.
Even them killing the idea that there's only one male too. I'm like, are there any species of anything in the world where there's one male?
We're doing the reversal. Well, they say it's like fish. I don't know what that means, but they're doing the like reversal of the like queen bee thing.
Sure, but
got the other
queen bees have more queens that then spread out and make their own colonies.
Yes.
So that's what
that this was like at that stage where it's one clutch of like dragons.
Then they shouldn't have shown Christian Bale when he goes to the gut of the downed one and he holds up an egg that has a baby in it.
Yeah, that's just a mistake.
So I'm like,
that
babies
just makes no sense. Yes.
What? So there should be other ones. So when it ends, he's like, we haven't seen one in 3 months or whatever number he says. I'm like, okay, but that's not clear. They have the whole Earth.
No, and like even if so like now we're getting very nitpicky, but yes, even if killing the male interrupted some sort of cycle and they do grow up really fast, and that explains the earlier stuff, like killing him that day, there were like dozens in view.
There were 300 right there.
Shot. Yeah, so like there's so many anyway. So like killing the male then shouldn't have stopped anything soon. You could have months later been like, it's or something, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And they do kill a female with just a giant spear gun thing. Yeah. So like these are not beasts that are invulnerable.
That's a great shot, by the way, because when it lands and they approach it, it's so big, and you can see like its arm or its leg like broke.
I think it's a wing.
Yeah, well, it's its flying arm broke and has this weird compound fracture thing because they're so heavy and they fall and tumble.
That's really
and
there
break,
too.
And
That's a
awesome.
practical effect.
Yes, I love that.
They had that in front of the theater during the opening thing.
Awesome, it's great.
It is very cool. There's a lot of awesome stuff like in this movie.
Do they eat the dragons though?
That's something I wrote. My thought was when they were celebrating.
Hats up to you, mate.
It was we're not gonna die. We're not gonna starve. And he's like, you're celebrating now over this. And I'm like, wait a minute. Do they not eat the dragons?
Matthew McConaughey even makes a like vague reference, calling it horse meat or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, X amount of pounds of like whatever headed straight for us or something. So I think that was
his horse. Yeah.
All right.
That was him. I need you to lead 1,400 pounds of horse meat right this way or something.
I don't know.
You're the bait, Gwen. 1,600 pounds of horse flesh. Ride her right down my throat. You read me? Ride the North Road to the quarry. Bring her to me, Gwen.
Yeah, because it has to weigh more than 1,400 pounds, I think.
I didn't catch the number, so I just thought he meant the dragon. But no, that's awesome, because later he says, like, I love the smell of their dead. That's the only thing that keeps them away or something like that. But yeah, there's no reference to have they ever tried to eat it and what happens.
No, I naturally assume that's where they were going.
Turn into a dragon?
Yeah, like two of my biggest questions I was like, wait a minute, do dragons eat more than ash? And do people not eat dragons?
People should eat dragons.
Yeah, gain their strength and wisdom.
That much is absolutely clear.
Only makes sense.
Can we talk about the greatest scene ever in cinema history?
Please.
This is the Star Wars reenactment.
Oh, yes.
I am your father.
I remember this from watching this the first time. I had still known about it, so I was waiting for it to happen, but I was worried that it was not going to hold up. It's even better than I remember.
It's pretty good.
And if if you disagree, you're wrong and you're bad.
No, it's I like the kids yelling out like, "Oh, I want to hear Lion King."
Prayers first.
The reaction of the kids and like when his arm gets fake cut off and the kids go, "Oh," and he's like, "No, it's fine," and it has to like show them like, "Oh, this is." So good. It's Gerard Butler and Christian Bale. It's such, oh God, there's so many post-apocalyptic things, and they take place whenever they take place.
Yep.
And people from the before times might like remember stuff, but usually it lacks that like this was so believable to me as like this is a 12-year-old's memory of Star Wars. I saw it a few times. I don't know, and he's told it to himself, and they've written it down, and now it's this weird.
Yeah.
And when they speak their dialogue, they are like reading it from a play, where it says the Black Knight stood there, like they're doing all the stage direction too.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'll never join you, the White Knight says. You killed my father.
oh, this is so fucking good.
And he takes credit for it, which is fantastic.
Oh, did you write that yourself? He's like, of course.
Of course I did.
Yes, exactly. And the kids are so blown away because The Walking Dead fails really hard at this. If you're a kid who's like never seen anything, this type of stuff is like amazing, right? And the kids are like, wow, because this kid's like 5 years old and he's seeing this like fake sword fighting.
I'd love to know how they set it up, though. It would be very difficult to do a lot of the establishing things here in play format. I guess you could do it spoken word style.
They picked an awesome scene,
of course,
right?
Well,
but I could imagine that the whole story, assuming that like maybe that's all they do is like a few little segments, because maybe he only like remembers a few important things,
or mixes other stories together.
It's such an awesome little touch to put in this movie. This movie seems to have put a lot of work into some things, and then, because you mentioned before, like the writing being bad, I noted a few times where like characters walk up and say, "I'm your best friend, and I think this."
Yeah.
Or,
I'm your best friend, and sometimes even I don't like you.
like, "Don't you remember? I used to work on this. I know a lot about furnaces." And you're like, "Oh God, these are like."
Remember, I used to build blast furnaces for a living. I know all about fire. Of course you do. Sorry, mate. Nice one.
Basic writing like mistakes.
Even like the cool things like that play you have right here. To have Christian Bale be the one that's in the play with Gerard Butler seems almost like a mistake. The two people that we know are our heroes that would also spend all day mining and then dealing with this and then doing are also the ones that do that. Like there's only so much time in a day, and like that dude has to sleep.
It feels very small in a way, which I usually like, but this is like by accident.
Yeah.
Where like we have other supporting characters. We have Dr. Bashir from Deep Space Nine.
Hey, Barlow. I got voices. AJ, what are you smoking? I'm not messing with you, Barlow. Take a look.
We have a guy who like has a bird and is like the lookout
I
man.
love that.
That guy was one of the dudes from Mandy, and I forget which one, and I refuse to guess, but I have a guess. But like weird looking Britishy dude, right? There's a few supporting cast members here,
yeah.
and they don't get much development at all. They get like 2 lines. Later, one of them dies, and I'm just like, am I supposed to care about this person? You're right. We should have spread out these tasks among more people.
Bit.
Christian Bale's cooking at one point.
Yeah.
The helicopter pilot comes in, and he's like, ooh, with like oven mitts and stuff. So yes, he's like doing
He's
everything.
doing everything.
It's
I
weird.
understand, like you're the father figure of this
Yes.
group, but don't they say, like there's when the storm doors are closing and Gerard Butler gets fried, all the kids and the children are downstairs. He's like, there's 50 people upstairs, or there's 500, like whatever number he
65.
says.
65 people up there, Cranium Joe!
It was a large number where I'm like, yes. What are they doing? Like, are we only telling the kids when there's trouble, go to the thing? Are the adults just like, oh, no, where's Christian Bale to tell me where to go?
Yes.
Eh.
No, it would have benefited maybe from being a season of a television show, but also there's other movies that can pull this off. You either have to make things literally smaller, that like the group was too big, and we didn't know so many people. And Walking Dead just is like, I don't know, the saviors are over there, forget about it. And like it feels weird there too.
Well, like, were
This
they
is
mining
similar.
coal, and that's how they had their power?
I don't know.
Was that what they were doing?
Do they ever explain that?
It seemed at a part where he said something like, "We've got to mine deeper so that we're lower." Like it seemed like at some point they were just mining just to get lower
To get
in
a
the
hole,
ground,
right?
And
Yeah,
I'm like,
to survive.
okay, but I need to know where the power is coming from, and they're all in these weird little nooks. Like they're not actually in bedrooms. Like he's just like, I'm around the corner of the stairs, and I'm over here, and this and that. But Christian Bale has like this big ass fucking room with 2 beds, and like no one's in out of their bed, and the kid's like, I sleep there. I was like, yeah, what the hell? And I'm like, okay, whose bed is that?
Well, that's just whatever the castle was.
I guess.
I don't know. They made it into a thing. No, I thought that they were digging just to get to like a safe hole.
Well, that's what
to, like,
that's what I
live
assume.
in.
But like,
then I'm like,
where's the power?
Why are you not growing mushrooms in those holes, dog?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know how mushrooms survive. It may not work.
Growing tomatoes seemed a little weird too, like especially
It's a
how
weird
far
choice.
from the thing. Like that
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
business
Right.
was on my mind. Like, okay, we still have cars working. Like, okay, with this
And just
that.
like, I mean, if you really want to go hard, it's like helicopter fuel and like
maintenance was my thing. I'm like, just
like, who's doing
maintaining a
this?
helicopter, that's very difficult.
Yeah.
Even from the very beginning when things were in the normal times, I'm like, every OSHA violation is an effect right here. A small child on a work site, no hard hats, smoking. That one guy, and where you know it's fake, like when they pull the first drill out, which exposes the hole that Christian Bale goes into and gets sprayed in his eyes or whatever, with like mucus. I don't know what that was.
That's the like napalm stuff.
That didn't get a chance to combine, I guess.
Well, did not ignite or whatever. He gets gacked.
So
it's great. They don't have OSHA in Britain, right? This is in Britain.
Yeah.
I think that's intentional, where she like sprays. Is it like a fire thing or like a liquid nitrogen thing? She sprays something to make the beer cold. Like they're like using their like mining stuff to like whatever, and it's like a sassy young British kid goes to this industrial work site, and they're like, "Hey, Quinn, how's it going there, lad? How's it going? Oh, you want a cigarette?" He's telling jokes.
Oi, come on then. You not have one yourself then?
No, I'm trying to cut back.
It's like it's such
That's
a
another
weird
thing about
vibe,
it's too small of a world. Having him also be the kid that saw the very first dragon,
yes.
I'm like, come on.
Absolutely insane. Very strange for him to be the same kid. Because having seen it doesn't make him more because like unlike a zombie movie, right? Having been the one who was there when it started wouldn't make him more likely to survive. Because a 12-year-old didn't say, "I need to go to the castle and like leave," right? Yes.
No.
Yes.
I don't know. And like, how quickly would things have happened in general? Because he says he happened upon that other kid who he then raised. Like, seemingly this took at least a decade, because he's not taking in a kid when he's 10?
When he's 14?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, there's a lot of unaccounted for time. Yeah. I think we've gone through most of like the mess of the movie. It's definitely a mess in a lot of these ways.
What about you, Quinn? You ever seen a male?
I don't know. When I'm running for my life, I don't stop to look at the plumbing.
Yeah.
I still like it for the world, and I like it. I've mentioned Walking Dead maybe a few times here. Like, it felt like Bale and McConaughey were like early show Rick Grimes and late show Rick Grimes or something, and it was a weird like overt.
That's not a bad comparison.
Yeah, like a battle between, and like unlike a lot of the more modern like spoon-feeding morality things, I don't know if either of them was really like right. Like shit just goes so off that it's like everything sucks.
Yeah. Where are the soldiers?
Like it had a good, and like you get these little moments where Matthew McConaughey is like, you lead, and he's like seems to be turning it over, because in my head I was like, Matthew McConaughey turns out to be the bad guy, and now I'm like, no, he was just a crazy man who like wanted to die flying through the air with an axe. Like he was just a crazy man, and Christian Bale like barely takes it and then retires. He grows the beard, he takes the helicopter pilot and just says, Jared, you're in charge, like I wanted from the beginning.
I want to speak to the person in charge.
Well, that'll be you then.
It's like a happy, like, oh.
It's very weird
nice.
though with who's alive at the end. It's almost all women and children. And you're like, okay, because all the military is wiped out. It's the military. What remains is the helicopter pilot, which is like his wife now. And like of their people, it was just whoever was in the bunker, which was just the women and children.
And they took the like strongest dudes from the castle, right, with them.
Well, and then the fire took the rest. So
yes. I'm just saying, like there was no,
yeah. Now, so like I wonder what the world they have left for them is, honestly, because they do show them erecting a tower, and I'm like, I don't know that they had the manpower to even do that. But whatever. Maybe there's people we don't see. Maybe.
Yeah, there's Jared and there's some other people on horses and stuff, and there's people, right? So they can try to limp along. Like it's like humanity has a chance now. We did it, guys. It has a nice little vibe.
Do you think their guns were even loaded when the militia showed up?
I wonder.
Because they showed like when they dumped the thing out, like there's like 10 bullets or something, and I'm like, are those 10 extra bullets? Are all the clips already in all the guns? Are those ready to go? Or do they not even have them? Is it just an act of like, let me show you what we got? Maybe you won't start some shit.
The look on that guy's face when he sees how many bullets are in that case, I was like, they're like, well,
because even if all the guns are full and that is the extra, you're still pretty fucked. They have tanks.
It's bad. Yes.
I do love McConaughey has the best line in the movie for me. He goes, we can do this the easy way or the real easy way,
We can do this easy, or we can do it real easy.
And yes, because what would you do if they want in? They're gonna get in.
Yeah.
Period.
No, and this is Walking Dead tier stuff where it's like the politics, and then he goes in and they're like, can you, like, what are we doing? And he's like, you don't understand. I looked in his eyes. He had a certain thing, like all those dumb things. You're like, and that could have gone either way in a very serious, like McConaughey's character, by the way. I honestly think he was putting in a lot of work. Like it's very hammy, but like he was doing stuff like his eyes tear up when he says, I lost 3 men today and all that shit.
Have your little soiree. Personally, you disgust me.
No. He's doing it.
McConaughey's a great actor.
Yes,
like I know he catches a lot of shit, like all right, like type of stuff.
Yeah.
But no, like he's in a lot of things. Where I'm like, no, dude has chops.
A Time to Kill and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's the man. But this is like $60 million aside, this is like, oh, it's that dragon movie, right? But everyone is putting in work and really trying to do it, and it's almost funny. But I appreciate it.
It's almost weird to see McConaughey as like the top billed guy in this movie because he's not in the movie very much.
You lead, we follow.
Yeah, he shows up.
But Christian Bale, like, I don't know, what was his biggest one before this? Like, Empire of the Sun is like my favorite one.
Well, he was on the come up, right? He had done Equilibrium and like a few other ones where I knew him. So I was like,
but I don't know if those were big name movies. Like, yes, those are good movies.
But he had not done the, like American Psycho, I think was already out by this time. I'm not sure. But like,
yeah.
But that still is not like, he was not the household name he would later become.
Yeah. He hit his stride, and then everyone knows who he is.
And now in this, he's just getting his ass kicked. McConaughey's shirt's off. McConaughey grunts constantly.
Yeah.
It's this weird character.
He's a Southern boy.
He's doing this thing with a
He
cigar.
has one bit where he's walking and he's coming kind of down a hill, and I'm like, is he stumbling down the hill?
Yeah.
Or is he just so swag to 100? Like, and either way, it looked awesome.
He had just kicked Christian Bale's ass. So
Yeah.
I think in my notes I say like, and he swaggers away like this swag lord.
His own boys were like, please don't kill him.
Yes. We're trying to be friends. Please stop killing him.
You got anything else that must be said?
I don't.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to support the show, head over to cannibalvideo.com, pick up some merch.
And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's something.
Whatever.
Fuck these motherfuckers.
Only one thing worse than a dragon. Americans.
Cannibal Video has everything you need. A wide array of VHS and DVDs. We ate the competition, now it's only us. Our expert staff opinion